details for his funeral arrangements, and then I'll take a limited number of questions at the end. Muhammad Ali was truly the people's champion, and the celebration will reflect his devotion to people of all races, religions, and backgrounds. Muhammad's extraordinary boxing career only encompassed half of his life. The other half was committed to sharing a message of peace and inclusion with the world. Following his wishes, his funeral will reflect those principles and be a celebration open to everyone. Lonnie and the entire Ali family invite everyone to join them for the celebration in Muhammad's hometown of Louisville, Kentucky. So Muhammad will return to Louisville within the next 24 to 48 hours with family members accompanying him. He will, the celebration of Muhammad's life will begin on Thursday with a private family ceremony in for just the immediate family, children, grandchildren, cousins, brother. Then the next morning, the family will gather at the funeral home location, where they will be joined by the Imam Zaid, who is presiding over the funeral arrangements for prayers. And at that point, a rather large funeral procession will take Muhammad through the streets of Louisville to allow anyone that's there from the world to say goodbye, celebrate the life with him. He will pass by landmarks of the Muhammad Ali Center, where that's named after him, that he led and follows his principles. He will then travel down the street named after him, Muhammad Ali Boulevard, through his old neighborhood, and then come back up Broadway in Louisville, where many iconic photos of him were taken, especially after the 1960 Olympics victory, the parade for Muhammad that occurred, and will end at Cave Hill Cemetery in Louisville, where he will be interred in a private ceremony with family only. At 2 p.m., the memorial service will begin at the Yum Center in Louisville. It will be an interfaith service directed by the Imam Zaid. It will include clerics from multiple religions, including former Senator Orrin Hatch, who will represent the Mormon faith. We haven't confirmed all eulogists at this time, but eulogies will be led by President Bill Clinton, Bryant Gumbel, and Billy Crystal. After the memorial service, there will be a private reception at the Muhammad Ali Center for friends and guests. And so that will conclude the service for Mr. Ali. At this time, I'll take any questions that you might have. Yes, sir. They had a full day to say farewell to Muhammad. All family members, all daughters and his son were in attendance, and his wife. They got to spend quality time with him to say their final goodbyes. And it was a very solemn moment, as I have repeated since last evening. It was it was a really, you hate to say this about a funeral, but a beautiful thing to watch, because it was, it displayed all that's good about Muhammad Ali, and the family displayed that, and with dignity. And of course there was sorrow. They were, in sadness, but it was done where the champ would have been very proud of his family.
And was he able to say goodbye?
Yes. Yes, sir. Muhammad became ill Monday and was hospitalized Monday night. I'm losing track of time. Forgive me. Monday night, he was in the hospital, but he was in fair condition. And we expected that to be the case. Muhammad has battled back many times, and we expected it to happen this time. The family was called when things became more serious. We still had a lot of hope that it was going to turn around. I arrived in Phoenix a couple of days ago, and then shortly after I arrived, it became clear in discussions with Lonnie Ali and with his doctors that his condition wasn't going to improve. And so, they were able to bring all family members in the last 24 hours when we knew that things weren't going to improve. They were given time to say goodbye. Muhammad, his official time of death was 9:10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. His official cause of death was septic shock due to unspecified natural causes. They're having it's very rough at this point for the family. All family members are having a tough time. I don't know that answer. Yes, sir, in the back. There is not at this point in time. There, at a later time, there could be something, but for right now, all memorial services will be held in his hometown of Louisville. I was not there. His final moment, his actually final hours were spent with just immediate family. There were lots of very close friends that flew in to be with them, but they respected the family. They didn't go to the room, so I don't know. Yes, sir, in the back. They do, and they're very appreciative of all the outpouring around the world. And that's why I think it was important to them to have a celebration and a memorial service that was open to everyone from all walks of life. It's they're heartfelt. They certainly believe that Muhammad was a citizen of the world, and he truly was. And they know that the world grieves with them, and they've received, as you can imagine, tens of thousands of well wishes and support. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last. Well, this entire service was his specific request. So, yes.
How long ago, how many hours before he died, how many years he was dying, and did he suffer at the end?
He did not suffer. No. I think the realization set in the morning of his death. A couple more questions if we have them. Yes, ma'am. You know, obviously, the Ali family will continue to support those. Lonnie will still be very involved and very active, and so those will continue to go forward. What they have asked, and that brings up a good point, is that in lieu of flowers and cards, that donations be sent through the Muhammad Ali Center in Louisville, Kentucky. 2 more questions, if you got them. Anybody? Well, I think that's for historians and for history, but I think he'll be remembered as a man of the world who spoke his mind and wasn't afraid to take a chance and went out of his way to be a kind, benevolent individual that really changed the world. I mean, Muhammad Ali changed the way people challenged authority and looked at it in a completely different facet. Last question. Yes, and thank you. And so through the Muhammad Ali Center website, muhammadaliCenter.org, and it's in the release, I believe, that you got, that you received, but through muhammadaliCenter.org, the actual service will be streamed throughout the world and translated as well. So they'll be available to follow along. Well, it's going to be in the Muslim tradition. Obviously, that's why the Imam is leading it. But Muhammad truly loved all people. I mean, he wanted, this whole service, the service, the funeral plans were done years ago by Mr. Ali, who discussed them personally. Okay, thank you very much. There will be further updates in Louisville tomorrow night. Thank you.
Wow. So that was really interesting. They had so much information to give right away, and a lot of it was surprising. Yeah. I know you just tweeted this, the fact that the funeral plans were planned by Muhammad Ali himself years ago.
Yeah, years ago. Isn't that interesting?
It's
but
so
honestly,
interesting.
That doesn't really surprise me. I feel like he would do something like that. You know what I mean? Like, he wanted everything planned out and represented correctly.
Right.
And especially with the disease, you never know.
Right. And it is interesting, someone asking about his faith and what the funeral would be like, and the spokesman, saying, it will be done in an Islamic faith, in the sense that they'll have a religious leader there present, but Muhammad Ali was just someone who really represented peace all around, and just love all people. And I think that's really important to remember and recognize. Prior to the press conference starting, you and I were talking about traditional Muslim burial rituals, and typically there's this 72-hour window where you're supposed to, between death and being buried, where you're supposed to, be buried sometime during that period. But I think when you have someone like Muhammad Ali and you have the whole world mourning.
Yeah, but if he planned it, it sounds like he's
fine with it.
Yeah, he wanted it. So the guy was saying everyone's going to be there Thursday, funeral Friday.
Right.
So we're talking basically a week.
Basically, well,
Yeah.
yeah, he died on a Friday. He's going to be buried the following Friday. And like he said, the family will be traveling with Muhammad Ali's body from here in Arizona to Kentucky in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
And then they're going to be gathering on Thursday for a sort of, a memorial or, remembrance of him. Bill Clinton is going to be speaking on Friday. Bryant Gumbel is going to be speaking. I mean,
we're just talking about maybe Donald Trump. Wonder what he's going to do, since they were friends. We've seen pictures, and they're both involved in Celebrity Fight Night. So
right.
that'll be interesting to see what Trump comes out with.
Right. I know he's already come out and tweeted his condolences. Again, the Obamas issuing their statement. I mean, I feel like everyone on the internet, everyone is reacting in their own way,
Yeah.
Boxers, obviously. I mean, world figures. We have all this file video. It really just represents, his legacy and his history. And, I mean, I can't imagine what it was like back then to watch him when he was at his prime, when he was the greatest. I mean, I remember my childhood, and it's a completely different sport, but watching Michael Jordan play basketball, and as a kid, that's like legendary. But he's referenced as, he's known. You say the greatest, and people already know who you're talking about. That is a hashtag that was trending on Twitter as well.
That would have been so neat to see the fight with him and Joe Frazier. I know Tom Fergus, we were working together earlier, photojournalist here, and he said that he remembers the fight like it was yesterday. It was not only the talk of the town, but just the talk of the nation. Like, literally everybody was talking about it.
Right. He had such an impact on everyone. And guys, I want to hear from you what your Muhammad Ali memories are. If you can go ahead and tweet it, we'll go ahead and read some of those on air. So we're here. We're bringing you continuous coverage of Muhammad Ali, his legacy. It is pretty...
He's one of a kind.
Yeah,
really.
And everyone, another thing that was trending last night on Twitter nationwide was a picture circulating of Prince and Muhammad Ali. People have been saying,
is it the one that Jeff posted where he was like touching his head?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where a lot of people are saying, 2016, what are you doing to us? All of our legends are leaving in 2016. I mean, we've seen a lot of prominent people pass away this year. And
really
a lot of people... whether you knew these people personally or not, I think because they have such an impact on your life and an influence in pop culture, you can't help but be a little taken back. You can't help but shed a tear even if you never physically met the person.
Yeah, and for people that are younger,
right.
I think everyone knows him or has seen a quote or his picture, but I think a lot of people are also learning about him too.
Right.
So like Jimmy Walker said, I think this is also a time for people to kind of understand a little bit more about who he was and what he represented. So I think it's kind of neat in a sense that everyone's going to know way more about him than what they did know, for people who are younger at least.
Right, and you just brought it up, guys. If those of you who are just tuning in now and didn't catch us earlier, Courtney actually spoke with Jimmy earlier today. Let's recap a little bit of what he talked to you about. He's known him for 31 years, you said? Yeah,
so Jimmy Walker is the founder of Celebrity Fight Night, which is basically a foundation that raises money for different charities. He met Muhammad in 1985, so a year after he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And then shortly after that, they kind of decided to work together, and the Celebrity Fight Night was already going on, but then he had a big role in it as well, and they began to raise a lot of money for several charities, but one of them being Parkinson's disease and also for the Barrow Neurological Institute. So really interesting hearing the stories and the memories, and how whenever they went anywhere together, he would get standing ovations. People would just clap for him, whether he was coming in or out or whatever. Everybody wanted to shake his hand, wanted to meet him, whether that was NBA stars, NFL, everybody looked up to this guy. So yeah, definitely one of a kind. And he said he was really about peace and love. That was really his legacy. And he came off kind of arrogant, had his funny quotes and stuff. Nobody can beat me, I'm pretty, all that. But deep down, he was a real good guy. And actually, Jimmy even said it wasn't even that deep down. He was a good guy.
Like, it was all part of the image, the facade of being this legendary boxer. I mean, I went back and I started looking at so many quotes last night on Google, just going through all of the things he said, and he spoke very eloquently. But you're right, there were those moments where he came off as incredibly cocky. I couldn't help but think of. I mean, I know I'm not comparing the two because I know the internet will suddenly like erupt if I say this, but I couldn't help but think of Kanye West and the way he speaks about everything.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like
that's true. I
just
haven't
this,
made that
like,
comparison, but I could see that.
you know,
yeah.
this just like you don't, no matter what anyone says, you don't believe them. You believe you are the best.
What was the quote that he was calling himself the greatest before he knew he was?
Yeah.
That was something, one of them that he said. One of my favorite, I don't have it in front of me, but I really like it. It was he hated every minute of training but never give up.
Right.
So, what was that one? I'm gonna Google it.
Rather suffer now.
Yeah.
And live the rest of your life.
Like, I hated every minute of training, but blah blah blah.
There are
I
a
was
lot
in
of-
the gym at U of A that I worked out, and it always pushed me to go a little bit harder. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Yeah, there's I hated every
minute of, okay. I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion.
Yeah, that one is shared a lot. That one
He
was
had some great quotes.
all over social media.
Yeah. And I think, especially in the boxing field, I mean, in that kind of career, you have to be like that.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to.
I mean,
they're going to just,
nowadays we see like Floyd Mayweather and everyone thinks like, oh my God, he's so cocky, he's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
And maybe, I mean, again, we weren't around during this time. Maybe Muhammad Ali came off in a similar way. I think the difference is we see this humanitarian side of Muhammad Ali. We see this guy who did more with his life and his legacy than just box. I think I read a quote last night, and I don't remember the exact quote, but essentially he was suggesting that boxing is the thing he does that gives him the platform to make a difference, to do everything else he wanted to do with his life. And I really can't think of another figure that has had such a global impact. I do remember back in, I think it was in the mid to late 90s when Princess Diana passed away.
Yeah.
And the world sort of reacting to that, and the world feeling such a huge loss. And there are, I guess, just a few icons that really transcend, you know, everything, and who become these global figures, you know?
Yeah.
Whether you're in the United States or Russia or China or South Africa, anywhere in the world, there's certain figures that, you know, just touched all those parts of the world. And I think Muhammad Ali is one of them. And I think Michael Jackson 6 years ago.
Yeah,
his
and you
death.
know how you were saying Prince this year and Muhammad Ali. Well, Michael Jackson and Farrah Fawcett. That
Right.
was another one. It was like, what's
That
going
was
on?
the same day.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And then even that same week, right before Farrah Fawcett and Janet Jackson's death, Ed McMahon passed away just 2 days before that. Yeah, so that was they always say
so
that
odd.
celebrity deaths happen in threes. I don't know if there's any truth to that, but I think there's a saying out there.
Wow.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
I don't know. I think what I guess sets this one apart as opposed to like the Michael Jacksons and the Princes. Michael Jackson and Prince kind of came out of nowhere, and it was sudden, and people were shocked. We've watched Muhammad Ali be hospitalized over the years. We've watched him have to deal with his Parkinson's and.
Well, that was what was interesting too, though. 9/10 was the exact exact time of death.
Right.
Cause was septic shock due to unspecified natural causes.
He was 74 years old.
So yeah, and when we got the alerts, it was saying respiratory issues.
Right.
So there.
I know they were saying he was hospitalized for respiratory issues.
Which can be caused by Parkinson's disease. But the cause here, I don't know. I mean, is that related to Parkinson's?
That I
Yeah.
couldn't answer.
Mm.
I don't know. I'm assuming you may be on the
I
story
think
still
it
tomorrow.
all probably is related, you know, with your health declining like
Right.
that for so many years. But yeah, Jimmy Walker was saying his last outing was April 9th, Celebrity Fight Night event, sitting right next to Carrie Underwood. We have a picture of that. You'll see tonight at 5. And Jimmy was saying you could tell he was really kind of going downhill from there. So at least it is not so shocking, like a Prince or a Michael Jackson.
Right. I think it's one of those things where it's someone who is legendary, but, you know, as a member of the outside world, you saw it kind of coming.
Yeah.
So again,
as sad as it is, though, you know, because he's
absolutely
an American legend. They're just icon. Is incredible guy. One
Again,
of a kind, really.
if you guys have any thoughts or memories about Muhammad Ali you want to share here on News Now, go ahead and tweet me. We are getting the tweets. They are popping up on my screen, so I will read them. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear about your first reaction when you first heard the news last night, or maybe you were already asleep and you found out this morning. I mean, depending on where you're watching in the world.
That's
if you were on
true.
the East Coast, I mean, it was after midnight by the time the news broke.
That's true, yeah.
And if you were, you know, I saw people out in the UK only finding out about it as they woke up this morning, and
it's definitely a shocker. Even though we knew his health was declining, all that, it's still, you just don't really believe it. You just feel like those people live on forever.
Right.
And he will, in quotes and memories and legacies, but it's still shocking.
Right. And you were speaking with Jimmy Walker earlier today. You were saying that he was at Muhammad Ali's house last night.
Yeah, he was there with only a couple other people, and didn't really talk a whole lot about what, you know, the vibe was like in the home. Obviously very
Right.
sad, but yeah, he was there. He was one of them there, so.
Wow.
And then also we'll have coming up tonight, Doc Weaver, a guy who cut his hair, Muhammad Ali's hair, twice. And so we were asking him about, how'd you do it? Were you nervous? You couldn't mess up. He wants to look good, you know. And yeah, he said no. He was very particular, but he was cool. Didn't talk a whole lot. Had the entourage with him who was talking a little bit more. So that story is also coming up tonight at 5.
I feel like there might be so many stories out here in the Valley, in Scottsdale and Phoenix,
Yeah, it
of
makes you
Muhammad
think,
Ali
like, who
story. I mean,
else?
he lived here for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
how cool would that be if you like went to the grocery store?
that's what I was.
right?
I'm like, oh, and just.
But
and
I don't know.
It's that.
If
I
you
mean,
kinda did
for
that
me,
stuff.
that's the thing that saddens me is knowing that I live here and knowing that I won't be able to just go to the grocery store and run into him. Like that's sort of just. It's a sad thought to think about.
It's a cool thought to think that you could even do that, though. I mean, for 10 years he was here. That's pretty cool. I wonder where his house is. I don't know.
It's in
Scottsdale.
Paradise Valley.
Yeah.
Paradise
okay.
Valley, Scottsdale area, around Scottsdale and Lincoln.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Beautiful area.
very nice area. Well, Courtney, thank you so much for giving us all your insight. Again, Courtney's story airs tonight at 5 o'clock. If you
Jimmy
are
Walker.
local, you can tune in by just turning on Channel 10. And if you're not local, you can still catch the newscast by just going to fox10phoenix.com and watching that live. I'm going to go ahead and play the obituary piece for you guys one more time in case you missed it the first time around.
He was simply known
as the greatest. Muhammad Ali created that nickname and then went on to earn it. He had a life filled with hardship, triumph, failure, and fame, and each chapter seemed to be more amazing than the one before. Born in Louisville, Kentucky in 1942 as Cassius Clay, he changed his name to Muhammad Ali when he joined the Nation of Islam at the age of 22. Ali learned how to box as a child so he could give a whooping to the thief who stole his bike, and he was a natural. Winning a spot on the U.S. Olympic team at 18, his personality lit up the Olympic Village. His skill knocked down the world's best boxers. His speed, power, and charisma couldn't be contained. He won the gold. Back home, Ali started training for his professional boxing career and went undefeated in 4 short years. The world began to see Ali's personality grow bigger than the sport.
I'm young, I'm handsome, I'm fast, I'm pretty, and can't possibly be beat.
His famous bravado was always on display. With the upset of Sonny Liston still being talked about, the champ shocked even more people when he joined the Nation of Islam.
I'm a fighter, not a politician. They act like I'm the president or something. I mean, I'm just a fighter.
He changed his name at the risk of alienating fans.
Cassius Clay was my slave name. I'm no longer a slave. What does it mean? Muhammad means worthy of all praises, and Ali means most high.
Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces.
At the same time, Ali refused military service during the Vietnam War. With his famous line, "I ain't got no quarrel with the Viet Cong," Ali articulated to a generation of Americans his reason for opposing the war.
Whatever the punishment, whatever the persecution is for standing up for my religious beliefs, even if it means facing machine gun fire that day, I will face it before denouncing Elijah Muhammad and the religion of Islam. I'm ready to die.
Arrested and found guilty of draft evasion, it took 4 years, but Muhammad Ali appealed the conviction to the Supreme Court, where he won. But no one could give him back the prime years he spent banned from the sport of boxing, stripped of his title. When Ali returned to the ring, Joe Frazier delivered him a knockout after 15 brutal rounds. Ali rebuilt his career. Shocking the world once again, he comes off the ropes to reclaim the title of heavyweight champion of the world in his Rumble in the Jungle fight against George Foreman. In perhaps the greatest battle in boxing history, the Thrilla in Manila, Ali defeats Frazier with his float like a butterfly, sting like a bee fighting style and rope-a-dope technique.
I've been blessed by Almighty God, Allah, to be successful in my boxing and everything. And I don't think you can find no one individual in this country, I challenge you, black or white, even the president is more popular worldwide than I am.
Muhammad Ali became the most famous athlete in the world, famous for his pre-match antics and hype, trash-talking his opponents.
Well, as a fighter, he don't have a punch. None of George Foreman's fighters stay down for a count.
After a tough loss, Ali retires from boxing in 1981.
The Spinks fight, for me, at 37 years old, fighting a 25-year-old man, I'm happy to be getting out. I mean, it's been hell.
3 years later, he announces he has Parkinson's disease, which robs him of his physical grace and amazing gift of communication. But in true champ style, nothing keeps him down. He continues his work as a humanitarian around the world, raising more awareness and money for Parkinson's research through his Fight Night charity than anyone. Much of it going to Barrow Neurological Institute, where the Parkinson Center bears his name here in Arizona, and where he resided with his wife Lonnie. In 1996, with the effects of the disease evident, Ali becomes part of one of the most iconic moments in Olympic history by lighting the flame at the Games in Atlanta. Named Sportsman of the Century by Sports Illustrated and given the highest civilian honor in the U.S., the Presidential Medal of Freedom, Ali cemented his place in history. Muhammad Ali, the most famous boxer to ever step in the ring, but the greatest left an even bigger mark on the world.
I'm the king of the world. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Hold it, you're not that brave. I'm a bad man. Wait. I took up the world.
Yes, you did, champ. Yes, you did.
Okay guys, you're looking at file footage of Muhammad Ali over the years. I do want to play this video for you now. It's from the Council of American Islamic Relations, CARE. They held an event in Washington, D.C. where U.S. Muslim leaders honored Muhammad Ali's legacy. So they did a live stream of that. So I actually want to pull